Hi and welcome to this week's lesson walkthrough. This week we're going to be looking at Solomon together. So we moved on from looking at David and we're going to look at his son. So if you haven't already done so, can I encourage you to head over to the website at truewaykids.com. There you can find this week's lesson on Solomon printed off and you can follow along. Lessons are aimed at children under 5 years old, but you can use them with whichever children you serve with a bit of tweaking. So they're free to print, again to use at home or at church. So on the front page of this week's lesson, you'll see the picture here of Solomon in front of his temple. This is just a reminder you can use to help your children to picture the images in their own minds. So on the first page, what we put as always is the introduction to this week's lesson. So some of the main points we're going to cover, as well as some ways which you can deliver these points in a way which under 5s will really relate to and be able to interact with. There is a QR code. If you scan it with a smartphone, it'll take you to a playlist on YouTube which includes some worship songs which go along with this week's lesson, as well as some videos of like cartoon styles retelling the story of Solomon. So some of the main points we're going to look at this week is that God asked Solomon, he could have asked for anything, but he asked for wisdom. We're going to look at what it means to have wisdom, the difference between wisdom and knowledge. Then we're going to see how David, Solomon's father, helped him to prepare for building the temple. It's a good way for us to talk to our kids about how we are trying to help them prepare for the future and prepare for a relationship with God and to be used also by God. And then we're going to see that Solomon built an amazing temple with gold and decorations, and how he gave his best to God, and how it's important for us also to give our best to God. And fourthly, we're going to see that God is bigger than any building. Solomon said, can God dwell on earth? Surely you're much bigger. And we're going to see that church buildings are amazing, but God is much bigger than that. And God chooses to have his dwelling place in our hearts. So we can encourage our children to invite God into their hearts and into their lives. Well, in the layout here, there's many more points of how you can do it, as well as verses which were good for you to read with your child and to learn together. But carrying on to the next pages, you'll see is the printable story. So this is something else we include every week. So it just shows King Solomon there with God speaking to him in a dream. What would you like? Then he asked for wisdom. He became wise, and people from the whole world came to him and asked him for his advice, and he helped him with their problems. Then he built the temple, and here we see God's presence in the clouds coming down on the temple, and him saying that God saying he's pleased with the temple, but to obey him, the most important thing. So these lessons, you can cut them out and form them so they make like a book, or you can use them just to rearrange to show you child understands the order of the story. So what's important is when we teach in under 5 especially, is that we relate to it more than just one part. So we try to reinforce this lesson through games and activities and worksheets. So this week's games and activities pages here. The first one is called Wise Choices. There you'll see a smiley face and a sad face. The idea is that on one side of a room you put a picture of a smiley face, on the other side of the room you'll put a sad face. And then you give your child some decisions to make. So you say, take some cookies from the cupboard without asking. And they have to decide, is that a wise choice or a bad choice or a foolish choice? If it's a wise choice, they go to the smiley face. If it's a foolish choice, then they would go to the sad face. You say, how about praying? Say thanks to God for the things he gives us. Good choice, wise choice, bad choice, foolish choice. And they can choose the smiley face or the bad face. And then you can help your child to reinforce these as you go along. Another one is make it fit. So this is the idea that in the temple, God was so big that he couldn't fit into a building. And actually God is everywhere all of the time. So what we're going to do here is get different containers from around our house, or boxes, maybe some things in the kitchen like a pan or a bowl, or even just a cup, and then some items. So it could be some toys, could be a pillow, could be some rice. And the child must try to guess whether one item would fit into one container. Try to pick some really silly ones too. For example, you can try to fit a pillow into a small cup. Now clearly it won't fit inside. And that again be reinforced the child of how God doesn't fit inside the building. But also through this activity they will learn to guess sizes and volumes. So it's a really good educational as well as fun game activity. The last one is building blocks. So allow your child to have some free play. Just give them whichever building blocks you use, plastic or wooden, any works. So just let them build as they want. And then slowly sit down with them and start to build alongside them. As you do so, you can start to talk about how Solomon tried his best to build a temple for God. You remind them that then try to build a house together, and what things do you look for as you build in a house. And as you look at then discuss, okay, there's a window, what's a window do? What does a roof, what's a roof do? And you can talk to your child about how each part has an important role to play, and how we have an important role inside the church, in God's house. On worksheets this week, here you see you'll have some writing on top of yours here. But there's some blocks at the bottom which you can cut off these shapes, then put some glue here, and the child must match up to reform these patterns of the bricks here. Again, just talking about how building patterns, foreign patterns, how Solomon had to do it using the plans, and how we can copy it here. The next page is, mine didn't print, but here I'll find it after you. Here it's, but it's a jigsaw. I'll find a good one in a second. Here is good or bad choices. You see, it's sunny was a good choice. The hat or the sunglasses. Here's the cold weather. Do you wear shorts or a woolly hat? Help your child to make choices. They can circle them as they go along. Here's about drawing circles on a home. So we said Solomon wanted to build a home, a house for God. And we can look at different houses just to reaffirm that. So which one is a house? So there you see is a fire station, and there you see is type of house, igloo is type of house. Some maybe your child will recognize easy, some not. But it's a good way to see about houses, to learn about them. This week's craft is building a model of Solomon's temple. So all the instructions here, as well as what you need to do. There's also going to be a video on the website showing you step by step of how to make it. The first thing you need to do is print this template onto thick white card. And once you've done so, it's going to end up looking something like this. So what you need is 2 kitchen rolls or toilet rolls. You can cut down to size. You paint these first of all with orange or gold kind of paint to make them look like the bronze pillars in front of a temple. And then you can just colour in the picture, cut it out so it makes a temple shape. Then you just fold alongside here and glue the tubes onto the back paper, and it makes a nice simple picture of the temple. It doesn't take long to make. The longest bit is waiting for it to dry. It's a fun activity. I'm sure your child will enjoy making it. So carrying on through, there's a template that you need to print off, and we have some colouring pages which you can also use throughout the week, or instead of a craft activity, here's King Solomon, simple colouring page. Here you see a picture of a temple which they can just colour in and enjoy. Then on the final page is some worship ideas and some things we can pray for and say thank you for. So some worship ideas is called a wisdom song, make me wise and welcome to God's house, and all them are via the link here. It also shows below here that next week we're going to be looking at Proverbs together. So Solomon wrote the book of Proverbs, so it's kind of out of order as far as the Bible goes, but just I think it's going to be easier for us to do Proverbs now, and the following week Ecclesiastes, as your child will have more in mind that it's Solomon who's wrote it, and then we'll carry on systematically for the Bible after that. Well, I hope you have a really blessed week as you look at Solomon together. There's so many important lessons that we can learn for this story. Again, any questions, comments, please send us a message, put the comment below, or send us a message by the contact page or on social media. We love to hear from you. And if there's anything we can do or tweak to make these lessons easier for you, let us know also. If you happen to speak Portuguese or know somebody who speaks Portuguese, then we're really happy to announce that each week from now on we're going to be uploading these lessons also in Portuguese, and they'll be available to download also from the website. If you happen to speak another language and you'd be interested in helping with translating them into your language, then again, send me an email, and it's something which we can talk about and see if we can work it out to bless people in your language, your children, maybe other people you know. Well, I really pray that God bless you this week. Have a great week, and I'll catch you again next week as we look at Proverbs together. May God bless you.